These playlists that Taylor just released to give us a clue as to what we can expect on the Tortured Poets department through the fan prism of the 5 stages of grief have revealed a layer of tea and delusion that has captivated me and that we simply must unpack today.
Here on The Evolution of a Snake, we just love to dive into the deep intricacies of all of Taylor's songs, and these playlists absolutely gave us the opportunity to do that tenfold. We were picking them apart like a turkey carcass.
Here we go. And don't forget to get tickets to Evolution of a Snake live in London because we need to be seeing you there and tickets are running low. If you don't know, we're here today to discuss a series of mental illness playlists that Taylor released on Apple Music corresponding with a fan theory about the 5 stages of grief. I guess we can start with the theory. Madeline and I have been clowning on it. We've been saying that it's not real, and we're right, actually.
Love to be right. Absolutely love to be right.
To be right.
At first, people were like, oh, see, my theory was correct. My theory was correct. But if you read the description for the playlist, it clearly says that Taylor was inspired by the fan theory, and she decided to play along. The album is not about the 5 stages of grief. She's just
so you can cut
around.
it out. She's cut it out.
Literally just having a kiki. And boy, are we smiling.
We're having a kiki with her.
Oh, I'm there. I'm on the boat.
When I saw these playlists, I was like, gag, gag, gag. And I also was like, there is some disease that she has that I don't understand. Certain inclusions. When I saw Betty, I was like, now, what? What are we talking about here?
It's important to note that every single song that Joe has a co-write on is on one of these playlists. And they didn't all have to be.
The snakes always know the tea. We clocked it from our very first Lover space on Twitter when we had our immediate reaction. I feel like our opinions really have not changed that much on what has happened since then.
No, honestly, we've always said the exact same things. There's some things that I will say that I only suspected. For example, Tolerated is one that I've only ever suspected. But now I can say, let me tell you something. Now I can say, period, I know the truth.
Period. Well, if you like this beautiful dynamic that we have going on the Evolution of a Snake, I have to direct you towards our Patreon. We have just upped our content uploading like crazy, and Tortured Poets is about to come out, so you really need to go and join us there for all of the inside tea, both of our unedited reactions to the album. Madeline's video reaction is not going to be available anywhere else. So like, chop, get to it. All right, well, why don't we just jump straight into it? So the first derangement playlist that she created is called I Love You, It's Ruining My Life.
Welcome to my I Love You, It's Ruining My Life playlist. This is a list of songs about getting so caught up in the idea of something that you have a hard time seeing the red flags, possibly resulting in moments of denial and maybe a little bit of delusion. Results may vary.
Madeline, what's the first song on this fucking playlist?
Lavender Haze. When I tell you that I've like pressed play, I listened to her like bullshit, and I like listened. Okay, and then I heard "Meet Me at Midnight." I was like,
"Age ball."
I knew it. And honestly, we are not the only ones who clocked this. So many people have had the theory that Lavender Haze is not as romantic as she kind of like purported it to be. If you remember the now deleted video of her describing like, oh, Lavender Haze is inspired by Mad Men and how in love. Deleted, gone, out of the universe.
Goodbye.
Didn't happen. Lavender Haze is about being delusional. That's what it's about.
Something that I mentioned in my YouTube video is how Taylor had to like obscure the fact that she was writing about her problems with Joe in real time by being like, this is made up and fictional. It was like such a bind that she put herself in, because if she was straightforward about it being autobiographical, it would open her up and her relationship up to so much criticism. So she had to, I mean, I'm going to say it, she had to tell lies. Death by a Thousand Cuts, that was not inspired by a movie, and we can stop that right now. Enough. No more of that. Period. Goodbye. But Lavender Haze, I mean, when you really listen to it, to me, Midnights is an album about being confused, about not knowing what you're going to do next, but knowing that something bad is going to happen, which is why it reads as so all over the place. But Lavender Haze is one of those songs that, like, to me, it's almost like she's saying, I wish that I could go back to that, like, delusional romantic place that we were in when we first got together. Not, I want to drown out the world. More like, I want to go back in time to when you weren't staring at the ceiling and ignoring me. Because that's a huge piece, I think, of Joe as a character that I've noticed, is that he ignores her. He like stonewalls. He's non-communicative. And I think that he just like buried his head in the sand a lot of the time when Taylor was not feeling good. And that's what I get from Lavender Haze.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And she puts on her furry little jacket, and she does her sexy boots, and she says, "Meet me at midnight." And we're supposed
to. And she means, I need you to get out of my house and vacate the premises at midnight.
It was all lies. Look, you guys, it was all lies.
It was all lies. It was literally all lies. But I mean, yeah, I mean, you weren't really listening. The way she says that, it's not like oh, you weren't listening to the noise. It was like, you weren't really listening to what I wanted.
Even more, I've always thought, like, oh, they're bringing up my history and you weren't even listening. It's like, oh, so you don't care about what happened to me in the past? Like, there's two ways to read it. There's a romantic way and then there's the negative way, which is that he doesn't, like, I think it matters what happened to her in her history. I think it does. And the fact that he's just like, that's all noise. That's all noise. Taylor's like, well, I mean, some of it is kind of relevant to us.
Well, but also, my town was a wasteland, but for some it was paradise. And also for Taylor, it was paradise. Taylor likes being famous. She likes going out and being a girly and being bejeweled. Yeah. And I think she really tried to deny that part of herself to satisfy Joe's wishes for how their relationship could be. And just fundamentally, like, they had completely different expectations from each other of partners. And I feel like Midnights is about distance. It's like being misaligned, no longer being able to like fight for something anymore. I really get that vibe, which goes straight into Snow on the Beach.
This one, I'm gonna be honest with you, I kind of think she was just having a hee-hee. Because Snow on the Beach to me is a complete nothing song. I don't think it's about Joe. First of all, she's talking about green eyes. Who has green eyes? It's not Mr. Joe. And she wrote it with Lana and Jack, and I think they were just going, hee-hee. So I don't, why she put that on the playlist, I don't know, but I'm eating it up. I'm gobbling.
You're eating it up. I think, Snow on the Beach is an interesting one in that I think it is one of the more vague songs on the record. But kind of what I was thinking when I was like looking for it and trying to see like what the Joever significance of this could be, it kind of reminds me of like an early Joever reminiscent song similar to Labyrinth. I'm feeling like that period of time where she was like flying back and forth to be with him and they hadn't quite like settled down together yet. I'm unglued thanks to you, my flight was awful, etc. And she really was unglued by him. She was unmoored from the normalcy of her life. She changed everything about the way that she interacted with her career in order to accommodate the way that Joe wanted to have a relationship. And I think that she had to like push that down for so long. And I also think that that kind of continues with, I've never seen someone lit from within blurring out my periphery. It's like, she's so entranced and in denial about the fact that she like loves this guy, but also wants to have a life, that she just kind of forgets everything. Fake it till you make it, till you do, till it's true. I really think she thought that she could force herself to want what Joe wanted.
Interesting. Very interesting. This 3-track run on the playlist, Lavender Haze, Into Snow on the Beach, Into Sweet Nothing. Sweet Nothing is my psychotic song.
Rosetta Stone.
This is like my Rosetta Stone. I think about this song all the time. There are times when I listen to Sweet Nothing and I feel happy and I think it's a really cute love song, and then there's other times, depending on the vibe and depending on my mood, that I just hear the saddest song ever written. And I think kind of like attaching myself to what you were saying earlier about like Snow on the Beach being a song that was more about the early days of their relationship, I feel like Sweet Nothing is her reminiscing on the good parts of her relationship when in the back of her mind she knew that it was over. She was thinking to herself about all the things that about him that she really did love. Like, I think he really did think that she was a great writer and she was a great poet, and he was impressed by her, and she was like completely enamored with the fact that she was with somebody who could appreciate her actual art and her actual work for a time. And she reflected on trips that she took with him and just remembered the safe space that she built with him, that she thought that she wanted that forever, and then she realized she didn't. And it's like sad. It's sad that it has to end, but it does. That's what I get from Sweet Nothing.
I think the pandemic was really when it started to be over in her head, when she started to really realize, like, I think in the period of writing Folklore and Evermore, they were closer than they ever had been, but it was like an artificial closeness because they were quarantined together. I think once those came out and she saw like what rapturous like applause and acclaim she received for those, she really wanted to wade back into being a star and talking about her work and being happy about it. And I got the sense that Joe really thought that she had given that up, because if you think about Lover, like Reputation was her shortest tour of all time, 50 shows. Lover, there was no tour planned to begin with at all. She had decided she was going to completely scale back her professional commitments. I think in large part, I mean, Andrea was not well, we know that, but I also think in large part to like accommodate the way that Joe wanted to live their life together. And I think during the pandemic, she was like, and with the re-recordings, like there was so much energy flowing, and she was like, you know what? I actually don't want that anymore. And I think she almost kind of started to view Joe's like desire for that real intimate, quiet normalcy. He had this fictional idea of being in a relationship with a Taylor Swift that wasn't famous. And she started to like, I think kind of look down on that. She's like, all you ever wanted from me was sweet nothing. Like I couldn't really ever give that to you. And it sounds so simple, but at the end of the day, like I come with bells and whistles. There's nothing you can do about that. And the fact that he's in the kitchen humming while the world is like also falling around him outside, and she's worried about all these different things, but he's just able to kind of like detach from it and move on. I think that creates like a huge distance between them, because Taylor feels and she's expressive and she is reactive. And I feel like Joe is very kind of like dissociated or like detached or in his own world.
It's actually super interesting how similar Lavender Haze and Sweet Nothing actually are. Like if you think about them in terms of like, it depends on how you look at it. It depends on how you look at Lavender Haze, and it really depends on how you look at Sweet Nothing, because it's almost like a double entendre. Like how you take it just depends. And
I also think she was delicious. Confused too. That's why it rings that way, because I don't believe that Taylor had come to a conclusion about what was going to happen. We know that she has a deep intuition and that she has a tendency to ignore that sometimes, but that it's very strong and that she knows herself. Like her self-awareness is so high. Her awareness of everything else, kind of low, but her awareness of how she feels is high. So I think that maybe she was like, I know this is over, but like I've invested so much time into it and he's so chronicled in my work. Like that must have occurred to her as well. Like he is right. The muse basically. So like, how am I going to disentangle myself from this? And when I think about the writing period of Midnights, it started like, so Renegade was written at the beginning of 2021 and Midnights was written at like in kind of middle towards the end of 2021. That overlap time really to me is the collapse, like between Renegade and the starting period of Midnights. I think she knew when she was writing Midnights that it was pretty much over, especially because we know that You're Losing Me was written in like what, November or October of that year.
Yeah.
Like girl, when she was writing Maroon, when she was writing Snow on the Beach, Lavender Haze, she knew, I think, but she hadn't said it to anyone other than maybe Jack.
It's just so funny to think about Jack. And only sometimes I wonder how those conversations actually work, like in the studio. I think about this all the time. It's like, does Taylor just like show up and say, and I wouldn't marry me either, pathological people like, pleaser, and Jack just like can't ask. He's just like,
like, is it? Is it like a code of silence?
Maybe.
And they're friends. Right. But this is also why I think, and I imagine, this is why it's hard for her to branch out with other producers, because, you know, her romantic information is proprietary. Like she can't just be gossiping about how she feels to anyone. And she kind of has to do that to make music. So in a certain sense, I kind of understand why Jack has to be the guy and Aaron Dessner. That's why she keeps her circle so small. But I think it does, like the privacy prevents her from innovating sometimes. But, you know, we don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm telling you, Jack is all over this record, though. This new one. He's going to be on it for sure.
I don't frown. I mean, do I want her to like branch out and like have new producers and this, that, and the other thing? Absolutely, I do. But you know what? Jack is, I think, more diverse.
Listen, I'm not hating. He's given some of the best stuff.
We're not hating. I think he's more diverse than like a lot of the fandom gives him credit for, though. I think they only see like, oh, Getaway Car, I wish you would. That man did Bigger Than the Whole Sky.
Yeah. And also, so I mean, he did Norman Rockwell, and he did the Chicks' country album. Like, he is very diverse. Yeah. He's very capable of doing, and there's a reason why female artists are really drawn to working with him. Clearly, like he is a good person to work with. They trust him. Yeah. He's a trustworthy person.
Yeah. And Aaron Dessner as well.
We're clapping and cheering for that. We're ready for it.
We're clapping.
Sweet Nothing into Glitch. There are a couple of Midnight songs to me that really are not becoming clearer, even though I'm getting more context about them. And it's Glitch and High Infidelity. Those two songs are becoming more remote to me. So I would love to hear what you think about Glitch following Sweet Nothing on the Denial playlist.
Now, what do I think about Glitch on the Denial playlist? Here's the thing about Glitch is that when Maddie Healy happened, by we I mean us on the Evolution of a Snake Patreon, we talked extensively about the possibility of Glitch being about Maddie Healy. It's interesting. I think when Maddie happened, we were sort of like grasping at straws, but still like that. Even though like all that's over and it was like a fever dream and this, that, and the other thing, it's always lingered in the back of my mind. Like I still kind of maybe think that Glitch is about Maddie, but it's more likely that it's about Joe. And putting it in this specific track run, like I mean, we're speculating wildly. I think she was pretty deliberate with the listing and like how they're sitting on the playlist. Sweet Nothing into Glitch. I mean, we were just talking about how these are all songs about her reflecting on the earliest of her relationship. And, like, the playlist is about, let me just kind of, what exactly does she say? Hold on, sorry. I have the, she says.
At some point she says.
This is about getting caught up in the idea of something. That's what I'm getting at. So I think Glitch, this was a very sexy song. This song is, like, very sensual, even down to the production. I think that it ties perfectly into the playlist and that this is her getting caught up in this idea of, like, this glitch, this thing that she can't get out of her head. That's kind of like what the song is about. I think it fits on the playlist. As for where it sits, she's insane. I don't know.
She can't. I mean, her sequencing is misguided at the best of times, so I do take that with a pinch of salt always. But Glitch, to me, the line that's jumping out is, I'd go back to wanting dudes who give me nothing. Joe really is the epitome of a dude that gave her nothing. Like that is the tea that I'm getting from all of these songs. So I think it probably is more likely to be about. I'm wondering if there was maybe an indiscretion on Taylor's part earlier in that relationship than the Maddie Healy period.
Well, I mean, they were card sharks playing games.
I thought you were leading me on. It could still have been Maddie Healy, but just in an earlier timeline than people thought it was.
Yeah. It's fun to think about that. I think she's had her sachets into the, you know, I mean, I've been there too a few times. I've been there too a few times. What do you want me to say?
Well, here's a question for you. Where the fuck is Question? Question is nowhere to
is
be
it not
found
on any of these?
None. That's because it's about Harry Styles.
Let me tell you, of all the like Zodiac Killer, Rosetta Stone ass fucking songs that she could have, but that one really should be on. I didn't notice that.
Well, the one is also not on this playlist, which is also psychotic.
Where did she put that?
It's not there. The one is not there.
Is it not?
No, it's literally not on any of these playlists. I'm looking at them now. It does not exist in any of them.
No way.
You would think. Nope,
no way.
Not there. Not there. Not there. You know, it's a damn shame that Reputation was not going to be included on these playlists. We could have had, like, I need to know where a song like Call It What You Want fits now. I think it would go.
Yeah, no, it's fun to think about where she would have put the, like, the Reputation songs, because, I mean, honestly, like, the folk Levermore songs are fun, and, like, the Midnight songs are fun, but the real tea is the Lover songs. Now, where she put those fucking songs, that
Lover
is where the tea is.
Crazy.
Yeah.
This is the other thing that I was realizing doing my video. Lover is fucking nuts. And it is so beyond, like, what it's so different to how she wanted to present the album that it's like it's goddamn insane. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. We're still on the Denial playlist. The next 3-track run is really truly fucking insane. Betty, Willow, and Cruel Summer. Moment of silence. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you trying to say? And who are you trying to say it to? And why? What are your motives? What's your business here?
Betty really confounds me here, because it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? This is a list of songs about getting so caught up in the idea of something that you have a hard time seeing the red flags. And it's like, I thought Betty was a cutesy little love song that you wrote about love triangle between non-existent kids named after like Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds.
And you're
children.
Still telling that story on the stage every night. So.
And yet here's Betty on the I Love You, It's Ruining My Life playlist. Part of me thinks that she just stuck it on there because she wrote it with what's his face?
Joe. It's possible. It's possible. But also, I think at the end of the day, Betty is a song about a stupid boy ruining something with the love of his life because he decided that he needed to have a dalliance that he shouldn't have had. And I mean, if we're just looking at it as a bare bones song, just from the subject matter.
Let's just call it what it is. If we look at it at its most simple form, we see the truth right in front of us, don't we? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? Normally, there could be a part of me that would be like, oh, let's not, let's take things with a grain of salt. Let's not speculate wildly. Everything's different now. We're just having fun. We're just having a kiki.
Open season.
And I think we should.
If you don't like that, that's really not our problem, by the way. Like, we do armchair analysis here. We don't claim to know the truth, even though we absolutely do know the truth. That is just the way that we rock. But, if you're still here, we know that you're into it. Now, Willow, diva down. When I went through the Willow lyrics earlier today, I was quite gagged, Madeline. I was reading them with a pair of eyes that I've never owned before. And it was gagging me. It really was. So the part that I was so compelled by, the more that you say, the less I know. Wherever you stray, I follow. I'm begging for you to take my hands, wreck my plans. That's my man. Okay. So what I'm thinking here is, again, you don't need to save me, but would you run away with me? He did need to save her. That we all know that she was lying to herself there. She literally, we love her so much, but one of her deep psychosis patterns is that when she's in a place of struggle or strife, she doesn't want to be single. She needs to be cuffed up and she needs to be escorted somewhere else to the next destination. And she will learn something about herself through the prism of whatever relationship that is, right? So I think that when she did that with Joe and ran away with him, she was kind of talked into or convinced into wanting something that she didn't, as we mentioned, wanting a version of her life that wasn't really for her. And I think it was really driven by him. The more that you say, the less I know. He keeps being like, this is the way you should live your life. And she keeps being like, I'm confused. I love you, but I don't agree with you. But wherever you go, I'm going to go with you. So just take my hand and wreck my plans.
Yeah. Here's another part of the tea. So the fact that Willow is the last song on the playlist, before we get into the lover of it all, Lover being the record where she literally begged multiple times for the man to take her hand and wreck her plans. Well, I think he knows he better lock it down, or I won't stick around because good ones never wait. Does that sound? I like shiny things, but I'd marry you with paper rings. That's somebody who's literally begging on her hands and knees. Willow, it's like I have like a deep spiritual relationship with Willow. Mm-hmm. So I don't think about it through the lens of Joever often. I think about it through the lens of me, myself, and I. But now that we're talking about it and we're thinking about it, there's some dark side stuff going on in there.
There's a lot of dark sided stuff.
It's dark sided. It's dark sided.
It's delusional. It is. She's right. It's delusional. In the prism of like her, or the framework of her mind, every bait and switch was a work of art. Card sharks playing games. I feel like they were just fucking messing with each other the entire time, being like,
it doesn't sound
who can be a better partner? Who loves me more? Who's more invested in it? Like, who gave up more to do it? It sounded like that was a really animating, like in my video, I talked about how there's like a drama triangle. There's a psychological framework of a drama triangle. And it's like, there are three positions that you can take: victim, rescuer, and like persecutor. So like the person that like lashes out or like gets angry, then puts someone in a victim frame of mind. And then the rescuer needs to come in, and you get kind of caught in this cycle of like outburst, threatening to leave. Then the other person says exactly what you want to hear and repeat the cycle. And I feel like it just rings very true.
There's and I hate to think about. I'm gonna forget everything that just happened here, for my mental health, because I'm never gonna think about this again because Willow's my Pookie. But
as it should be,
there's something there, and I don't like it, and I'm ignoring it. That is not part of my reality.
Hashtag not my Willow. Literally
not my Willow.
Not my Willow.
Not my Willow.
Up next, Cruel Summer. I mean, Cruel Summer. The strife is clear. The strife is apparent.
Yeah, and the thing about Cruel Summer, it's another one of those songs that depends on how you look at it. At first glance, it's like, oh, what a fun, sexy, confusing, oh, how much fun this was. This, really, if you boil it down, miserable.
Nightmare.
Horrible.
Delusion.
I'm drunk in the back of the car, and I cried like a baby coming home from the bar. Many such cases.
I said I'm fine, but it really wasn't true.
Right.
Like,
she's not
girl.
kidding.
And
it
also,
sounds
I think
so camp, but like it's not.
It's not a joke.
No.
And I think a lot of the time as well, like love is something that is communal and like joyful, and it's something that you want to share with people. Having to lock it down and keep it a secret like makes it feel like a weight around your neck, I would imagine. Like it's not a fun secret to keep, especially if you're under the pretense that if other people know about it, it's going to be destroyed. That's really not a good, it's not a vibe. Breakable heaven? No thanks.
No, and it's so funny because the Cruel Summer, its production, everything about it is a vibe, but it isn't. If we had, let me tell you something, piano version, Cruel Summer, it would gag you bitches. You would start seeing.
You'd be crying.
You'd be crying. You'd see
you'd
something
be
else.
Screaming.
You'd be seeing something else.
If I bleed, you'll be the last to know. That really should not be your approach to forming a deep, vulnerable connection with someone else. They should be the first person that you want to bleed to. I understand, like, from the beginning, like, when you're not sure where it's going to go, I understand that. But I think that that dynamic persisted long past the beginning.
But it's interesting to think about also Cruel Summer and how she uses the term red flags when she's describing the playlist. And it's like, was she seeing red flags? A red flag is she doesn't want to keep secrets just to keep him. And in the back of her mind, maybe she knew he always is going to want to keep secrets in some capacity. And like she knew that, and she said, anyway, I don't see that right now.
I think she knew from the very fucking beginning that this was not right. And this is why I'm so mad that Reputation is not allowed to be included. Obviously, this is because she hasn't recorded Taylor's version, so she's not putting them on. You know what would come right after Cruel Summer? Dancing with Our Hands Tied. That is what would come directly afterwards. I loved you in spite of deep fears that the world would divide us. And she says on that song too, like, I knew no one in the world could take it, especially not someone that isn't super famous. Like, Joe, when they met, basically was a normal person, literally. Like, he was no one. I mean, he's still no one, but he's like someone now because of Taylor. But I feel like she wouldn't be in a position like she hasn't been in that frame of mind with Travis, for example, because he knows the drill.
Yeah, he understands the quandary. I mean, he was on a reality show, lest we forget. Catching Kelsey, heard of it? You haven't heard of Catching Kelsey?
Heard of that? No. What is that?
Do you remember? It's a reality dating show. It was kind of like Flavor of Love, only it was Travis Kelsey. You didn't know about this? And his girlfriend, who got on the mic and was like, Taylor, watch out, because he's just going to cheat on you. A cheater's always a cheater. She was the girl who was catching Kelsey. You didn't know this? This is crazy.
No.
He's not pilled. He's not pilled like the rest of us.
Not pilled. So after Cruel Summer, we go into, okay, again, when will the torture stop? Lover.
Lover's crazy. That was, Lavender Haze was like psychotic. I saw Lover on this playlist and I almost walked away. I was like, stop.
She kills me. Stop being insane. Kills me.
Here's the thing. There's a lot of speculation going on about this song. I'm kind of a bit of a bulldog about the song because it was my wedding song. So it's like when people are like, she was lying, this isn't really a love song, and this, that, and the other thing, I'm like, it's a love song.
No, it is.
She made
a love song.
Fucking first dance version of the song. She intended for it to be a love song. It is a love song. What she's doing here, plain and simple, is saying, I hate Joe. That's literally, I don't think, like, you go through the lyrics, let's find evidence of the red flags, this, that, and the other thing. She hates Joe. She said, that's not a love song anymore, and let's put it there.
I have a note. I agree with you that it was definitely intended to be a love song, and she did not write it with a doubt in the back of her mind. But there was a red flag, I think, that escaped its way onto the lyrics that she thought was like a cute thing. I'm highly suspicious that everyone who sees you wants you. Is that because your boyfriend was a card shark playing games and leading you on? Is that why you kind of suspect that everybody wants him and you don't really fully trust him?
Well,
are you being a little bit possessive?
Right. I'm thinking about this is such a random reference, but on Cowboy Carter, the multiple times that Beyonce's like, I know you're looking at my man. Stop looking at my man. Stop, this, that, and the other thing. It's like,
no
Jay-Z is ugly and everybody knows that. But it's like, why does she think that? Because of the events of Lemonade. So that's interesting.
And who can blame her? I think if there's anything there, that would be the red flag. But I agree. I don't think she was conscious of it when she was writing it, but looking back, because that's what she said delusion as well. Lover, it was a delusion. It was a delusion. You're my lover. Well, no, you're not.
I saw somebody saying like, oh, all the people, again, this is just me, like, I'm psycho. All the people who had Lover in their wedding, like, must be so embarrassed. It's like, I almost got married to State of Grace acoustic version. Would that have been embarrassing? She's not dating Jake Gyllenhaal anymore either.
This new Swiftie trend of like having songs being ruined because a relationship is over. Grow up. Can't relate to that.
It's if it's your own relationship, that's one thing. Ruined because of Joe Alwyn, girl.
Exactly.
Not on my watch.
What? Not on my watch.
On my watch.
Is still the sexiest song ever created, and that's not changing anytime soon.
Reputation.
Thank you for trying.
Yeah. Still my favorite album, Reputation, even if Joe Alwyn is not the subject anymore. I mean, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
What can we do about that? The moment where I really idge-balled so bad was she's so crazy. She's such a goose. She's a goose.
Honk. Like, this was her honking at full volume. Hilarious. Miss Americana is the weirdest song of all time. Like, I thinking about it in the lens of Joever is especially funny because it's like it's like I'm being really generous with this term, but it's like an allegory if you want to call it that. It isn't, but like the closest word I can think of. She wants it to be one. It's set in the frame of high school. She's obviously positing herself as Miss Americana and Joe as the Heartbreak Prince, but he is the Heartbreak Prince, but not in the way that she thought. You know?
Not in the way that you thought. It came like a postcard, the way that he really was the Heartbreak Prince. But I think it's you and me. Again, this reinforces that isolation was the foundation of their relationship. It was never going to work. It's you and me. That's my whole world. Also, she kind of likens it to political strife. And this was when she was trying to come out as a Democrat. And she was like truly for the first time, like aware and like confused by the Trump regime and all of this stuff going on and her being demanded to speak. And I think that there's something here about like Joe having good and right opinions. You know, you were the only one who seems to care after talking about like the big bad guys and all of that. You were the only one who seems to care. Joe, Mr. High and Mighty, on my horse, I know everything better than you. I'm sure he definitely was like, you need to wake up and look outside and think about, you know, beyond what my next tour is going to be. And also, I'll never let you go because this is a fight that someday we're going to win. Why is your relationship always a fight? Why is it always...
Let's talk
breakable
about
heaven? Does it have to be this way? No.
But it's interesting. You actually bring up a really good point. Thinking about like her relationships that she had prior to Joe. Joe was her longest relationship. Obviously, we know that. But it's like, I think a lot of her relationships have been punctuated by strife and drama and hiding and like this, that, and the other thing. I don't think she knew the first fucking thing about having like a normal relationship. And there's almost a part of me that like wonders like,
well, she thought this was it.
Oh, she thought this was it. She thought this was it. And
but is doing the parading my man around the world, is that a healthy relationship? I don't know.
She can't find the middle ground.
Extreme.
She can't find the middle ground.
Is there a middle ground for her? We don't know. False God, well, I mean, itch ball again.
This one made sense to me. I mean, I'm not gagged. I mean, of course, False God is like the craziest song on Lover to me because it's like not happy. It's like very...
we're about to fall apart. But we can do it.
But the sex is so hot and like etc. That's like what I get from it. It's a very sexually like intimate song. Dickmatized. Like this is a lot of things are wrong, but we do have that. That's kind of what I get from it. Like intimacy is something that we always have. That's what False God makes me think
I for sure feel that. And also I think there's a difference in their communication styles as well, because Joe is staring out the window and not talking to her about whatever it is that's bothering him, whereas she is begging you to leave me just so I can try and scare you.
That's crazy.
Why are we always doing the most extreme? Why do we have to do the most extreme action to get Joe to show me that he cares? Why is it that? Why is it always that? And you're losing me. That comes right back around. Do something. Say something. Risk something.
It's very interesting. I mean, let me tell you something. Tortured Poets, the reference that we're already getting way too referential, and the album's not even out yet. I'm gonna be scared. I'm gonna be very scared. And if I'm telling you this right now, I'm looking into the camera. To all you people out there watching, if any of you little rats leaks lyrics, I will fuck your life up.
You're dead.
A single lyric will ruin the entire thing. I'm not doing it. The second
You're
the album
banned
leaks,
from the Patreon.
I'm gone.
You're banned from the Patreon if you leak something.
You won't see me.
Discord access over.
Even a murmur, the album's leaking. See ya! I'm not doing that.
Goodbye. Yeah, no, it can't be. I have to experience it purely and in full.
Yep.
After False God, we get Style. I mean, not much to mind there. Not much to mind there. I feel like, the other songs, the songs that she's throwing on here from like whenever, I'm like, okay, who cares? I'm more interested in the Joever tea, so we can analyze those ones. But Style was funny.
I think the same way as you do. Like all the Fearless and Speak Now, the Red songs, I wasn't really thinking about them. I was like, those are clearly not. She's just having a kiki.
She just wants to stream Taylor's version.
Sent me to the moon about this playlist is Bejeweled randomly being the very last song.
I know.
I was like, why wasn't that up there with the rest of them?
After that's when ours and Superman Bejeweled.
What are you trying to say?
One of these things here is not like the other.
Yeah. Hilarious to me. Absolutely hilarious.
Bejeweled doesn't really ring to me as a denial song, though, because they asked, do you have a man? I say I don't remember.
I think it goes more in the angry playlist. I think it should go there. I think it fits
I've been
because,
too kind.
Yeah, she's pissed. She was pissed as hell.
Not the right place for it. But again, we can't trust her to do anything. Up next, the next playlist is You Don't Get to Tell Me About Sad, which, by the way, is, I think, my favorite lyric so far. Also, it's interesting to hearing her assign different stages of the grief to these lyrics gives me more of an idea about what they're going to be about. I thought that You Don't Get to Tell Me About Sad felt like anger to me, so I was happy to see that expressed. Over the years, I've learned that anger can manifest itself in a lot of different ways, but the healthiest way that it manifests is when I can write a song about it, and that helps me get past it.
Crazy. That's what she claims. She claims she got past it. The start of the playlist, Vigilante shit, that makes sense.
Thank you.
High Infidelity, that is kind of a nugget. That is crazy. I never thought of it as angry.
Me either.
So it's very interesting to me that it's on here. But
it was kind of resigned to me. But maybe what she was doing in High Infidelity was a thing that was done out of anger. You said I was freeloading. I didn't know you were keeping count. What does that mean? You said I was freeloading. In what context could Taylor be freeloading?
Well, it's interesting that I didn't know you were keeping count. Thinking about what you were saying earlier about how they're always playing games with each other and it's like a mind game all the time. You're keeping score. And she says that in Hoax too. Let's call it what it is. She talks about keeping score in Hoax. Oh, we're cooking with peanut oil now. There's something
we're getting into it.
Interesting.
Two delusional girls telling each other exactly.
We're not getting to the bottom of anything for the record, but
literally. The slowest way to kill someone you love is never loving them enough, or whatever the line is there. We thought it was Calvin. It probably is Spin Your Records and Forget Me, but also isn't Joe super into vinyl and being cool and indie records that's much cooler than mine? I'm not ready to just say it could be about Calvin.
I think it could go either way. Slapping it onto this playlist is bizarre to me. That's the thing that's making me think. And it's we don't even know. Maybe it is about Calvin, but she's repurposing it. We don't know.
What April 29th are we referring to? Everybody thinks they know, but I'm not sure that we actually do know the truth about that. So I'm going to need lie detector test. Polygraph. Let's go.
We need a polygraph.
Sit down.
Do you really want to know what I was doing on April 29th? And the answer is yes.
Maybe we don't. Maybe we're too scared.
Maybe so.
Then we have would've, could've, should've, which well, duh. Obviously, we get it. Exile.
That's the crazy one. That's really insane. She's crazy. She's absolutely
Wasn't this the first one they wrote together as well?
I think so. That sounds right. Or was it, he was noodling around on the piano, right? And she was like, what are you doing?
That's my thing.
Next thing
Don't you dare do it without me.
This is an insane song to me to put on the angry playlist because I thought you guys were having fun. I thought we were smiling. I thought we were laughing. We were making songs together. Bon Iver was there. He's like our favorite, their favorite. And now all of a sudden I'm mad as hell and I'm frothing at the mouth and I'm putting it in my angry playlist. I find that interesting. No? I mean, I
find it hard to believe.
It's not an angry song.
I didn't think it was either.
No.
It's the male character in this song is angry. That's what I feel. But the things that I kind of picked up on this from my video were, it took you 5 whole minutes to pack us up and leave me in it, holding all this love out here in the hall. That really rang to me, that capacity that Taylor has to just flip, like change like Midnight Rain, like how, because she knows herself so well, she keeps things in for a long time. And then when she's finally ready to make her decision, like there's no going back. Like I've decided that it's over and it's over, period. Nothing you can say is going to stop me. And then the male character in this feels so blindsided by that. He's like, you know, you never gave a warning sign. And she's like, I gave so many signs. My face was gray, but you couldn't admit that we were sick. Like literally, I was telling you every day that I wasn't feeling good. And you just buried your head in the sand and pretended that you didn't see.
Exactly. That's kind of crazy. It's only like an angry song if you think about it that way. And it's like, it is kind of funny because I definitely think Taylor's the kind of person, and she tried to pack us up and leave him with it. And he said, heck no, Joe, which is crazy, by the way.
Squeeze my hand as I'm about to leave.
This ain't right. This ain't right.
I think Taylor tried to leave a couple of times, actually. That's what I've gotten when I've been going through. She tried to leave on Cornelia Street. She tried to leave on Renegade. And I think she also tried to leave on Exile. But Exile could be like reminiscing on an earlier time. But it's definitely, to me, it rings as being about their story, for sure. Then we go into illicit affairs.
Why not? Why not?
She was just being silly there.
Yeah, I don't think there's any Joever to be discovered there. It is an angry song. I mean, don't call me kid. Don't call me baby. So absolutely.
Don't do that, bitch. Yeah. Never do that.
Never do
Tolerate
that.
it. Okay, mental illness time.
I knew it. That's what I'm going to say. I knew it. She tried to tell me, no. I read a book. And I said, no, you didn't.
You never did.
No, you didn't.
You haven't read a book and you haven't watched a show. That's never happened once in your life.
That's never happened. Admit it. Tell the truth. And she did. She said, truthful. Okay, fine. You want the truth? There it is. I put it on the playlist. And I said, thank you for telling me the truth. Thank you. After all these years.
Obviously, it's written through the prism of an age gap relationship, of course. But again, that's just a construct. We were in a fictional moment in her career. The feelings on this are very consistent with the rest of the Joever thing. The thing that really struck me was the bridge. While you were out building other worlds, where was I? Where's that map? Blah, blah, blah. Joe was filming a lot during the pandemic. He like finally had some work and he was like away and she was like flying to visit him while like kind of not really doing anything, not really promoting Folklore and Evermore because they were like done and out, and that was during the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. So I gave you my temple, my mural, my sky. I uprooted my life. I left New York, left a part of me back in New York, and I flew my ass to London. And now I'm begging for footnotes in the story of your life. So what's going on, babe? Why are you just doing this to me? You assume I'm fine. That's the other thing. Again, my face was gray, but we couldn't admit that we were sick. You assume I'm fine. You bury your head in the sand and you take me for granted because I've been a little too kind. I've like malfunctioned now. I can only speak in Taylor lyrics.
It's like that guy that came onto your Twitter space.
Oh my God, yeah. Oh my God, yeah.
Oh my gosh, what was I just thinking? We were thinking about Tolerate It. Oh, thinking about like Tolerate It through the lens of the pandemic. All the things that she says. I sit and watch you reading with your head low. I awake and watch you breathing with your eyes closed. I polish all the plates. I do all these things. And these are very like homesteady. We're at home all the time. But even though we're together and we're at home, it feels like you're a million miles away. And so it's very pandemic vibe in that sense. And it's like, you could have, oh, well, that's just the mindset that she was in. But also, hello, it's been staring us in the face this entire time. This one, I knew it. I knew it. That's all I have to say about it. I don't even have to explain it. I knew it.
And it was a track 5 too. When you put something as a track 5, it means something. It does. It's a clue. Unless it's all you had to do was stay, then it probably means nothing. But other than that, it's everything.
It would be hard for me to imagine she would make a track 5 that has absolutely nothing to do with her at all.
Let's see what kind of feelings So Long London is presenting and whether they tie into Tolerate It, because I'm telling you they do.
I can't wait. Let me tell you something.
Give it to me.
I'm ready. I'm ready, and I'm seated. I'm outside the Tortured Poets Apartment. I'm in my tent. I'm ready to go. Let's go. I'm done with this.
That's all I really have to say about that playlist. Do you have anything else that you want to
No,
note? I mean, the rest of it is
add.
like older songs that I just think are, please stream Taylor's version. Money, please. Am I allowed to cry? This one surprised me. This playlist takes you through the songs that I've written when I was in the bargaining stage, times when, you know, you're trying to make deals with yourself or someone that you care about. You're trying to make things better. You're oftentimes feeling really desperate because oftentimes we have a sort of gut intuition that tells us things are not going to go the way that we hope, which makes us more desperate, which makes us bargain more. Hope you enjoyed the playlist.
She's crazy.
Hope you enjoyed this abject misery. Bye. See you in 2 weeks.
Opening it with The Great War, that was a choice. We all saw
fake
it
resolution.
Coming. Fake resolution. And you know, I'm never gonna cry again. The Great War is over. This is never gonna happen again. Now we're gonna live happily ever after. Delusional.
You wish.
Bargaining. You're delusional. You're delusional.
Well, and then we also have Afterglow, which makes so much sense to me. Meet Me in the Afterglow. That song is literally about, you know, when you're in like kind of an unhealthy relationship and every fight that you make it through without breaking up, you're like, yes, we didn't break up. Congratulations to us. When really it's like, no, girls, you should probably break up. Like if you're having a huge fight every 5 seconds, like maybe it's time that you just call it quits. She is putting a lot of the blame on herself here. I'm seeing that bargaining coming into, it's all me. It's in my head. I'm the one that burned it down. I'm so sorry, babe. Please forgive me. Don't go. Don't leave me. Don't abandon me. I'm so sorry. Cricket.
I'm cricketing. Afterglow has always had kind of like that weird internal, everything is my fault. Like, she doesn't blame him a lot. And it's like, I get we're writing about the muse and like she doesn't want to put out bad stuff about him. And when she does, she has to pretend that it's all fictional. But it's like, oh, when she's writing about her faults, she can be as honest as she wants. Huh, Joseph? That's okay? Interesting. Don't you find that interesting? I do.
I really wonder, like, if she couldn't even be honest enough with herself to write songs about what was really going on, which is why she's so excited for Tortured Poets to come out. Because if you think about it, like any song she plays, Joe's going to hear. So not only does she have to consider like what might he not like going out to the public, she also has to consider what might he not like to hear about himself, because he is painted in a very flattering way in most of these songs, even on songs like Maroon, which are like kind of about like it being over. She is grateful for it. Midnight Rain, I broke his heart because he was nice. I feel like the claws are out and the armor has dropped and we're now going to get some real juice. Who's Afraid of Little Old Me?
Exactly. And it's something that I keep thinking about, like, of the lyrics that we have from Tortured Poets so far. And so I enter into Evidence. And it keeps making me think of, like, why does she feel this need? Like, she has to defend herself.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. It's so interesting to me. But probably out of all the songs on the I Am Allowed to Cry playlist, that sent me to a stratosphere. Peace is number one. That really sent me to the moon. This one actually pissed me the fuck off because it's like I knew, everybody knew in that song it was so strange. It was obviously bargaining, but something that really has been irking me about thinking about the song through the lens of bargaining is when she says, "Give you my wild, give you a child." I don't like that.
I have a response for you. I have a response for you if you'd like to hear it. My interpretation of that is in my head, this is pure speculation. In my head, Taylor has not really seriously considered having a child with anyone at any point because her career has been so go, go, go. She's very clearly focused on that goal. Who's to say what she really wants? She's mentioned having children before, but she's never been like, I'm going to have them at this time with this person or whatever. My interpretation of this is she is talking about all the things that she can't give Joe. Like she can't give him his main fundamental ask, which is privacy and a normal relationship. She's like, I literally can't give that to you. The rain is going to come when you're standing with me. But, you know, I love you so much that I would give you my child. As in, I don't think she's saying that in a way where she's like, I love you so much that we'll have a child together. She's saying, I would sacrifice my career or whatever it is to have a child if that's what you wanted because I love you so much. That's why it rings as bargaining to me.
I want him to die in such a way. I'm not even kidding. Like this is the one that pisses me off the most is Peace. It's just like,
well, why is she
like,
always fighting to prove herself to him? Why is she
right.
like, at this point, we're 3 years into the relationship. Like, why are you still justifying your love?
And
It's
it
like his is
seems
just
like
automatically perfect and yours is needing to catch up. Why?
she's always pointing to outside forces as well. And I think that that was kind of the scapegoat that she used in a lot of their relationship. There's robbers to the east, clowns to the west. The rain is always going to come. Those are all outside factors. None of that has anything to do with him because he's the guy who is so fantastic. His integrity makes her seem small and this, that, and the other thing.
And
it's
she
like,
can't even talk to her friends about it without feeling guilty. That's where
yeah.
we really, that's when we go straight into Dear Reader, where I paste in my pen and my friends found friends who care. When you literally, like, I think she isolated herself so much with this love because Joe was so, to me, it seems territorial of her almost. Like, you have to give me all of you in every context, and you need to bend over backwards to accommodate the version of love that I want us to have. And that involved her not being honest with herself, with her fans, and with her friends, probably even, about how she was really actually feeling.
And to think about, like, a line like, all these people think love's for show, but I would die for you in secret. Like, the way that she appealed to this idea, this idealized version of their relationship to the best of her ability. Like, I would die for you in secret. And it still wasn't enough. I want him dead. I'm not kidding. I'm sorry.
Literally heirloom turkey. He's over. He's literally over. The Joe Widows can take a fucking hike. Get out of my face. Don't get into my space anymore. They're going to be deceased when this album comes out. They're really going to be, they're going to be sorry. Other mentally ill songs here. This Is Me Trying. I mean, that literally is a mental ill song. But I don't know if that has anything to do with Joever. I think also everybody was kind of like going through it with the pandemic. So that kind of probably inspired a little bit of that. The Archer, Cornelia Street, and Death by a Thousand Cuts.
She's crazy.
There was a psychic wound in her that formed during Reputation that she tried to fix with Joe. Like, she tried to get Joe to make her feel better about being torn apart by the world and made into nothing. She thought that Joe could fix that for her. And even when she was in the middle of their relationship, she still couldn't. The Archer is an anxious song. Help me hold on to you. Like, please help me. Like, I know that it's the middle of the night. I'm pacing around. I still feel like I'm having all these regrets about the way that I handled things. It is concerning how much that wound of when they first got together was still present and active for her until Evermore. Evermore is when she really healed, I felt, from that specific wound. But I also think that that wound was what bonded them. And when she got over it, there was a lot of distance created because she didn't need Joe to save her anymore.
Well, it's so interesting to have a relationship that's like based upon a need. Thinking about Labyrinth, I thought the plane was going down. How do you turn it right around? Like, based upon like, you're the savior and I'm like the damsel in distress or whatever. Once that dynamic goes away, it's like, oh, what are we doing
then
here?
What? Well, now what? Literally, now what?
Now what?
Now all we have are differences. Like, that's the only thing. The thing that united us is gone. So now it's like pointing out the space between us. Cornelia Street, Bargaining. She literally was like, I've had enough of you, you beast. I'm ready to leave. I'm packing my bags. I'm leaving. And then only then, after mind fucking her for so long, only then when she actually was about to leave, he showed his hand of cards and was like, oh, no, I love you. And she was like, oh my God, okay, all is forgiven. And that dynamic just kept going on. He would like be silent and distant, and she would be like, okay, I'm leaving. And he'd be like, no, I love you. And then she'd be like, okay.
When I find him, no, I'm kidding. I'm gonna.
Let's invite him to the show.
Yeah, let's come on down. Evolution of a Steak Live.
There would be a beautiful guillotine on stage.
Like pot of boiling oil.
Get
just
in and
waiting
we'll
to
cook.
Deep fry.
We'll have our microphones. We'll be ready to go. And Death by a Thousand Cuts. I mean, now come on. We all knew that she was lying about that.
I really am curious to know how many times they actually like had like a breakup, like a break. and like separated.
Is it that she's writing about all the one time? I feel like on Lover, probably there was one particular trying time. But to me, it feels like there's distance between things like False God and Afterglow and Cornelia Street and Death by a Thousand Cuts. Those two songs feel like they were almost sequenced together, like they happened sequentially. But False God and Afterglow seem to me about more domestic interruptions rather than like it's the beginning and we're fragile.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Interesting. Yeah, I get what you're saying. But it's interesting to think, like, I wonder if they broke up during the pandemic ever.
Girl, Exile,
I don't
Coney
know.
Island, Diva. Well, if you're breaking up in the pandemic, you can't really go anywhere. Like if you're broken up, you're stuck where you are, basically. So deal with it, being broken up.
Yeah.
I feel like they are the kind of couple that would have punished each other with silence. Literally, I lived like an island, punished you with silence. I feel like they would stalk around the house for days not speaking to each other. That sounds
like terrible. That sounds legitimately insane.
That's hell.
They need to seek help.
No one sees when you lose when you're playing solitaire, girl. You gotta speak now. You gotta speak now.
You gotta speak now.
Death by a Thousand Cuts also has lyrical parallels with Cornelia Street, kind of, that I hadn't picked up on before.
Speak.
So the traffic lights, street signs pointing in an arrowhead leading us home. I mean, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see it.
You know,
and then funny. Also there's False God, My Heart, My Hips, My Body, My Love.
Interesting. Oh, that's actually a really good point. I've never thought about that before. Interesting. You know what's really funny is that like Lover is way more New York City coded than 1989 ever was.
Oh, much more. Much more.
This song is this album is like totally New York to me. When I think of it, that's what I think of.
Death by a Thousand Cuts is such a fucking good song. Can we just have a moment for her? She is
delicious. it's really she's a delicious little morsel.
And there's
Thank you. It's a chocolate chip.
It was about a flop Netflix movie starring Jane the Virgin. Please, no, Mama, let's do some research. That's not true. She tried
Actually, Ellen, that's not true.
Actually, Ellen, that's not true. Then we have Soon You'll Get Better, and I was like, wah. Sad.
I think we should have.
That made me sad.
I don't know why. I mean, I understand. Like, to be clear, I understand why it's on the playlist. But it's like now it seems kind of weird to stick that in there when we're doing a little bit of like a, kebab. Like we're building a kebab of Joe, and then you're like, oh, this is another time I was sad too, and it's like, oh, okay. Anyway,
she then did a sequence of songs that I think was just for the snakes. The Other Side of the Door, If This Was a Movie, Renegade. This is how the playlist ends. The Other Side of the Door and If This Was a Movie, yes, thank you so much. Those are bargaining songs. I just love to be reminded that they exist. Renegade is, to me, the key to the end. The Renegade is literally when she was like, when you read the lyrics to that, it's so much more like, girl, SOS, we are on the rocks and I need you to get your shit together. Literally, can you get your shit together so I can love you, please? And also, if I had known how many pieces you had crumbled into, I would have let them lay. So you're saying if you really knew what was going on in Joe's mind and you knew what his fucking demons or whatever it was that are preventing you from being together, you would have just left it alone if you knew what you were getting yourself into.
It's kind of crazy they stayed together after she put this song out. Honestly, like of all the songs, like to be honest with you, Renegade is the most damning, and it's the most distant. It's not on any of the albums. It's on the Big Red Machine album. It's a feature technically, etc., etc. So it's like it's so removed, and yet people still clocked it immediately as being about Joe. They clocked it immediately.
Is it really your anxiety that stops you from giving me everything, or do you just not want to? To me, that is like the summary of their relationship. Like he just could not be bothered. And also I believe that he had like, she references his mood as being blue so much throughout her work.
Yep.
Like I think that he's a depressive kind of person or like a low mood person and has that like British thing of like stiff upper lip, like just grit your teeth and bear it. But that's not conducive to a relationship, especially with someone like Taylor Swift, who is extremely expressive in so many different ways. Like if she's having an issue, you're going to hear about it. Maybe it's not going to come out nicely, or she's not going to say it the right way, might come out in a song. But like Joe, if they were still together when Renegade is coming out, what do you mean you didn't know that we were sick? I'm telling you, it's in the public domain. You Google your name and you see people speculating about this. Like, what were you thinking, Diva?
I can't even imagine. I would assume that he just buried his head in the sand. That's my best guess.
Yep, that's
but
I think his
maybe
MO. That was just
he
his
was
way.
like, oh, it's gonna change. It'll all be different. And then
I think he got comfortable. He was like, I just have her now. So, you know, I saved her. She owes me. That I also think is the other part of it. She owes me because I saved her from that time when she was so dark.
Well, I think he should be dead.
Yeah. Let's have that conversation.
Let's have that conversation.
Death to all of them.
Yep.
So, old habits die screaming. This is so crazy. Where we're going to be exploring feelings of depression that often lace their way through my songs. Say that. In times like these, I'll write a song because I feel lonely or hopeless, and writing a song feels like the only way to process that intensity of an emotion. And that's what We the Snakes love about her. And while these things are really, really hard to get through, I often feel like when I'm either listening to songs or writing songs that deal with this intensity of loss or hopelessness, usually that's in the phase of when I'm closest to getting past that feeling. Does Dear Reader sound like a song written by someone who's close to getting past something?
This one, if you want my opinion, this one's the craziest one, and there's songs on it that I don't think
belong there
sense. And like I'm kind of Old Habits Die Screaming doesn't give me these are songs about depression. Old Habits Die Screaming gives me I fall into the same pattern over and over again.
Yeah, denial.
Which I get from Maroon, maybe. I maybe get it from Hoax, maybe Champagne Problems, Right Where You Left Me, but I don't get that from Dear Reader. Maybe kind of like, this is who I am and I'm never going to be able to change.
Well, what if we just take the idea of depression and leave the title out of it? Because I think she's just using the chapters. Like, again, she's forcing something to fit maybe where it doesn't.
That's actually a good point.
It just,
she
I
had
think
nothing else to work with.
At a certain point, it's not about the titles. It's just about the emotion. So I think this one really is mostly about depression. Clearly, starting it with Bigger Than the Whole Sky. I mean, talk about jumping in with 2 feet.
Yes, Bigger Than the Whole Sky is a really interesting song. I've always just kind of read Bigger Than the Whole Sky to be about grief in general. I've never thought that it's about Joe. It's like too poignant.
I have not thought that either.
I don't dare to speculate about what she's talking about, but I do think it's about an experience she had of like profound grief, whatever that may be.
But also, this, to be fair to her, this playlist, she said, is about the 5 stages of grief. It's not about the 5 stages of relationship grief. And Soon You'll Get Better also appears elsewhere. So she definitely is working, I think, with a theme larger than that. It's not all about Joe, clearly. This run of songs is so insane to me. Dear Reader, Maroon, You're Losing Me, My Tears Ricochet, Epiphany, and Hoax. What is that?
I'm going to say what everybody else is too afraid to say. Hoax doesn't belong on this one. It belongs elsewhere.
Say that.
Well, I should be saying it.
Anger? Do you think it belongs in Anger?
No, I honestly think it belongs in I Can Do.
Oh, wow.
Well, it's very accepting. I mean, it's very dismal and it's dark.
No,
but there's
like what we're saying.
A finality to it. But Hoax has always given me this idea of also like, this is how it's going to be, and I've accepted it. Don't want no other shade of blue but you. No other sadness in the world would do. This is going to be my life now. That's always how I've read into it. It's very accepting. It's not happy. We're not moving
That's
on.
True.
But there's like a hopelessness associated with it in my mind. So,
you know what? I never thought about that. I didn't think about it like that. I only got snagged on the, you knew you left your password, so I let you in the door. I only knew the anger.
I'll take it as angry too, but I just don't like it here. I feel like that.
No, because it's more active than depression. It definitely is. There's more like, it's not hope, but it's momentum. There's like something going forward. To me, depression is like a stagnation, which you hear on a lot of these other songs. But Hoax is certainly more, well, I mean, also it's indecipherable. So it belongs in its own playlist by itself.
Yes.
With ambient noise. Like that's where it should be.
Crickets chirping.
Who knows? Ancient sounds from the Bronze Age.
Things we cannot understand.
That we were never meant to know. It's not our business. It's not our person. You are allowed to look at it from the glass. The rest of us have to stay behind the rope. It's kind of crazy. But Dear Reader, Dear Reader really, I can't believe she put that song out. I really can't.
It's really crazy. And
that song says I'm in crisis actively.
And everybody just kind of was like, okay. She ended Midnights with it. Technically, if you consider 3 a.m. edition as the full version of Midnights, it closes the record. And everybody said, wow, Midnights, we love it. It's such a, diverse, kind of all over the place record. No, it ends on the saddest possible note that it could. What is the last thing she says? You should find another guiding light.
I shine so bright.
But I shine so bright.
Girl.
That's not somebody who's smiling. I'm going to tell you that right now. She's not smiling.
She's not. That's not a diva who's up. That's a diva
down.
Who is down. And I think the thing that kind of we skipped over too fast, because I remember, to be fair, when Joever happened, we were gagged. We were surprised. It was not expected. It came out of the blue, seemingly, but she had been saying all this shit to us and we just hadn't realized it. She really successfully did the whole, oh, these are about different nights in my life. That it was such a flimsy construct and we bought it hook, line, and sinker, but it wasn't true.
So stupid.
We're so stupid. It's
dumbest
that's not the
alive.
Truth. That's not the truth. It's not the gospel.
That's crazy.
The bridge, especially, like she talks so much about being alone, a house, not a home. That really rings to me like I'm in a place of misery in my relationship. We are around in silence all the time. We hate each other.
I think the other reason why that like we and like maybe some other people were so resistant to these songs being about Joe and like her referencing Joe is because to do so would be going onto the Gaylor pipeline. And like, if you think that,
that's
then
so
obviously,
true. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that's why I think we're so reluctant to be like, this is about Joe. I actually,
Gaylorism really rose with Midnights because they had so much ambiguity to work with.
Oh yeah,
but it's been cleared up now, so they have no excuse.
Yeah, now at this point, it's like this is clearly, obviously, she's talking about Joe, and it fits into everything that you've been saying too about him being like really distant. A house, not a home, all alone because nobody's there. She's talking about the man. She's saying specific, not just nobody's there.
He's physically present, but he's not there. The lights are on, but no one's home. Period. He's burying his head in the sand. Mm-hmm. I mean, dear reader, that to me also rings like because we know that when she decided it was over with Joe, she was like, I'm going to do 150 shows. This is going to be the longest tour I've ever done. I'm going to be doing pap walks every day. I'm blah, blah. It was like such an extreme overcorrection that I think dear reader was her really being like, damn, I've lost my way. Like I've changed myself in so many ways to be with this guy that at this point, I don't even trust like my instincts. Like who am I to be telling other people all of these stories about love and finding yourself and success when I can't even find happiness in my own home? Girl.
That's crazy what you just said. That because I always just kind of thought of it in terms of like her own inner machinations and like her not feeling mentally well enough to be like a role model or whatever. But you just tapped into something crazy. I think she's like probably feeling in her mind like, oh, I've sung about this great relationship and like what a relationship is supposed to be for so long, and actually it's crumbling in front of my eyes. You guys have, and I'm
looking back at all my old songs and going through red flags. So you guys really just shouldn't listen to me.
She was thinking to herself,
don't take a note from my book.
Hold on, is Joe Alwyn just like Jake Gyllenhaal 2.0? Because he kind of is.
Think so, but worse because it was longer. But also Jake, I think it's worse because the Jake Taylor dynamic. What really I think is the issue with Joe and Taylor is that there was a power imbalance where he saved her and she felt indebted to him, and I think that dynamic is what made it so uneven and what made her so unhappy. But with Jake, it was like, oh, this hot, sexy older man. Yeah, it was the age. But it's a similar dynamic. You're right. Yeah.
That's crazy. Damn. Yeah, that's this is getting interesting.
You're losing me really speaks for itself. I mean,
come on. We
You're losing me is actually all I need to know. Like, I feel like everything I need to know is in that song. But I will say, it still sounded like it wasn't 100% over. It was like literally 99% there. It's on the operating table. We're shocking the system. Like, girl,
well, she didn't say you've lost me. She said you're losing me, man. She said, come on. I'm fading, saying do something, say something, risk something. Hello?
You're literally losing me. Stop it.
And then they continued to fight for their lives for what, like 7, 8 months. And then
well, so you know what's really weird to me that I've been thinking about the timeline wise? So You're Losing Me was in like end of 2021. What are they doing walking down the street holding hands in October 2022, a year later after this? The Great War? Do you think maybe The Great War was written after You're Losing Me? That was the false like bargaining part?
You know what I really need is I need to see the Jack Antonoff diaries. Because I know he keeps like a log.
Give me
the studio log. I need to see that.
There's only so much piecing together that one diva can do. I need the records.
I need. I wonder how much Tortured Poets Department is going to really be evidentiary to that extent.
Well, it seems like she's laying it all out.
In maybe Who's Afraid of Little Old Me. And this is fun. Hold on. I thought about this recently when we were talking about what was I talking about?
The Tortured Poets.
The Tortured Poets Department, and then what's the name of the other playlist? So there's I Love You, It's Ruining My Life. There's
Am I Allowed to Cry?
Am I Allowed to Cry?
You don't get to tell me about Sad.
You don't get to tell me about Sad, I think is in The Smallest Man Who Ever Lived.
Just
that's my speculation.
I think so. I can
speculation.
Really see that. I just noticed that on Old Habits Die Screaming, we also have Coney Island. If I can't relate to you anymore, then who am I related to?
And his dumbass is credited as a writer on that too. Why is he there? Get him out.
Why are you together writing songs about the fact that you're going to break up? Just break up. Stop it.
There's something so like sinister about that to me. They probably were like, this is therapy. No, it's not.
Yeah, they were like, this is couples therapy. Well, you know what? If Taylor just sucked it up and went to therapy once, maybe she would not be in this situation.
Well, fucking, you've got the National in the room. And they're like, what the fuck is going on here?
Aren't they like long-term married and like happy, boring relationships? You need to ask them.
Well,
don't
Aaron
talk to Abigail. Don't talk to Abigail.
No, she doesn't know.
Divorce.
Don't talk to Selena. Don't talk to Gigi Hadid. No, these girls don't know anything.
Also, your parents, Andrea and Scott, they can't tell you anything either.
No, they can't tell you anything.
That's interesting. What examples of good relationships does Taylor have? Only what she sees in movies. That says a lot.
That's crazy. Maybe Blake and Ryan relationship goals to her.
Hate them to her.
Not to me.
To her. Not to normal people.
Carolina is on this shit.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, you need to be quiet. You need to stop
She's
doing that.
Begging for streams on Carolina.
She's like, let me just throw this one in there. Like, it's been such a flop. Right where you left me? That makes sense to me. Sure. Mm-hmm. Why not?
Absolutely.
And the last playlist we have is I Can Do It With a Broken Heart. I think this is one of the songs that I'm most excited for on the record, for sure. Okay. I'm so excited about this. Hey, you've made it to my I Can Do It With a Broken Heart playlist, where we finally find acceptance and start moving forward from loss or heartbreak. These songs represent making room for more good in your life, making that choice, because a lot of times when we lose things, we gain things too. Starting with You're On Your Own, Kid. Cry, tear, scream, tantrum, throw up.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. You're On Your Own, Kid. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Nothing to do with Joever. That is just a song for the people. I Can Do It With a Broken Heart.
The one is on this playlist. It is. Okay, the one is on this playlist. But yes, you were saying you've got no reason to be afraid.
Well, what's interesting about the one being on this, out of all playlists, is it's also there with Invisible String. That's really the crazy thing. She's psycho. And with that, I know it can be nothing else, but it is a reference to the Eras Tour. I know it is.
Oh, yeah, because they're sequenced so close together as well. Yeah.
And you know what's interesting? And you know what's really interesting is that she could have replaced Invisible String with any number of folklore songs. There were other songs she could have picked, and yet it would have been fun if you would have been the one.
Again, if I were Joe Alwyn and I was listening to the first master of folklore that my girlfriend that I am still in love with had just written, and she had just written a song that contained the line, "The greatest loves of all time are over now," I would have said, huh.
I would have said, do we have to have a conversation? Like, what's going on at home?
Do we need to do it? Do you want to write a song together? That's probably what he did, actually. He said, like, let's write Exile.
Maybe we should write something together.
Maybe we should do.
We need help, babe.
Hate his ass so bad. So I think You're On Your Own, Kid. Obviously, yes. I think, as we saw with Dear Reader, I think she put Reputation was such a regression for her. Like 1989 was really about like being a girl boss, being independent, and Reputation was about like my man is going to save me from myself. That really is what it was about. And she really tried to present Reputation as her like I don't care album, but it was so not that. Like it really was not. You failed at that. Wonderful record, excellent presentation, of course, but the emotional story that she accompanied it with was not 100% accurate. I don't think. Like, this love saved me and now I'm better than I ever was. That was not the truth. You were damaged. And you know, she doesn't like to show vulnerability in real time. I think she only likes to show it in hindsight. But You're on Your Own, Kid, to me, was kind of like her finally being like, all right, well, I don't need a man, in a more profound way, being like, actually, at the end of the day, I've always just had myself and I've always been fine and I've survived greater storms and here I am.
Very true. Exactly. And I think that it is the opening track for the playlist too. It was like the first song that came to mind when she sat down to do it, and why not? And I still don't understand to this day why
it's not on the
have it on the Eras Tour.
Well, that's
I'm
the
saying
question.
it. I'm saying it loud. I'm saying it proud.
You're on Your Own, Kid, if you really think about it, is what Welcome to New York wanted. That You're on Your Own, Kid is the girl boss Declaration of Independence.
Oh,
that's
no.
what it is.
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Took our broken hearts, put them in a drawer.
Girl, no.
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 Play your songs in the parking lot. You understand
That's
me?
what you do, bitch.
Yeah.
You want to hear that new beat you're gonna dance?
Yeah.
You're gonna dance to. Here it is. Summer
Here it
went
is.
away. The other songs here that I thought were very interesting, It's Time to Go and Evermore. Those two songs are very interesting to me. Evermore is her being like, you guys, can you believe it? I'm finally over 2016. She was like, I really am ready to close the chapter on that and go forward. It's Time to Go, I always thought was only about the Masters and maybe a little bit of Carly, but there's something about Joe in there at the beginning. You say that friends look at each other like that.
I've always wondered about that. I thought
She's
it was about
paying
Calvin.
for the tab, obviously, because Joe's broke. You say that friends look at each other like that. And the part where she was like, those snaps and breaks that you know in your bones, that part, I think Taylor's so intimately familiar with the feeling of a relationship being over. She knows that feeling. It's her job to know that feeling. And I think that she knew that it was over before she verbalized it to anyone or even really to herself. But I hear it here in this song. Sometimes walking out leads you to the right thing. Girl.
Well, that's her, if I may speak, that's kind of her bag. She's always walking out. She's always walking out to find the right thing. The right thing. That's her bag.
Well, the problem is that there's always a right thing.
There always is, and not everything can be the right thing. So what are we doing?
Well, most of the right things have been wrong. So what about that?
What about that? How
about that? Also, Midnight Rain. Wow. Yeah, moving on from loss or heartbreak, as in I already broke up with him. And we were bending over backwards to be like, who is this about? Because it is a very resonant song and it makes sense that it's about Joe.
The second verse especially, picture perfect, shiny family. She was thinking about his normal life. For him, it's every day. He gets to just like, he can at any time leave her and her house and go home to where his life is just normal and it's not bogged down. When he would go down the street without her, who is he? Nobody's chasing him around.
He's a turkey.
I think that she could only gaze in at that life through the window, and she finally realized that. And that's kind of what I think.
And also, I think it wasn't something that she wanted. There's no point wanting something you can never have or like chasing something you can never have. And I also think that Taylor doesn't want to be a normal person. She loves being famous. She does. She loves being famous. She loves being successful. She loves doing her tour. I don't think at the end of the day that she would give up that for love. I don't. I still think that her career and her writing is the most important thing to her in her life. It's even more important than love. There might have been a time where she could have been swayed when she was younger, maybe, when love felt so much more encompassing to her. But even then, I think that, you know, being an artist has always been her top priority.
I think so as well. And I think that the acceptance that she's referring to in Midnight Rain is the final, I think she's played house, so to speak, and played with the idea of like, I can be normal. But then she was like, no, I can't. And this was like the final death knell. I'm gonna be on TV, and that's when he's gonna remember me, and we're not gonna be together.
Sometimes we all get what we wanted. She wanted to be famous. He wanted to have a normal life, and those two things could not happen at the same time. Wow, we've cracked.
I feel like taking a pill. Having a long sleep.
Long story short, I mean, yeah, sure. Okay, but that still was about I'm all about you, I'm all about you. Delusion.
Well,
that
you
really
know
should go
what
to
I think is like bizarre on this playlist is Labyrinth. Now, what the hell are you doing there? That doesn't make any sense to me. I think maybe she was thinking in her head when she put it on, like, oh, this was about a time when I was, like, letting go of all the hurt of 2016 because that, you know, I thought the plane was going down, this, that, and the other thing. But to me, it doesn't really feel that way. And it's odd. I don't get what it's here.
It doesn't give moving on.
No.
It really doesn't give moving on. It might give feeling better, but it doesn't give like on to the next thing. Making choices that make room for more good in your life. Girl,
no.
Nice try.
Nice try.
Happiness? Yes, I understand that. That makes sense. August? I don't know.
Why the hell that's there? I don't think
so. August is sad.
Is that the Long Pond Sessions version, or is that just the cover? Are you seeing that what I'm seeing?
No, I'm looking at a list.
It's the Long Pond Studio Sessions cover.
I'm going through. This is the most ridiculous playlist of them all. I forgot that you existed. When are we going to stop pretending that song is true? You were lying? Daylight? Girl. I once believed love would be burning red, but it's golden. Is it still? Is it?
You got to step into the daylight and let it go. I think Daylight, again. She wanted it to be a song about, you know, but it isn't.
Now that we don't talk, moving forward, this is crazy. Innocent moving forward didn't move forward from that either.
You know what I'm learning from this playlist is that she doesn't know how the fuck to move on, but we already knew that.
She thinks she does. She thinks she does. And we need to keep her in that space. She needs to stay in a space of thinking that she's moved on and then revisiting things over and over again.
Right.
That's what we need to happen. Well, I think that's it. That's
unpacked.
Those are the playlists.
Unpacked.
And we're scared for what's to come. So you need to be ready. The Lizard Review is going to be going crazy. Swiftologist going crazy. Evolution of a Snake Patreon crazy.
I literally am so happy that I have the week after all that, I have a vacation. Oh, mama needs it. I'm going to be in Las Vegas. I'm going to be slurping drinks like a fucking animal. Because after
what's a tortured poet? I don't know.
I don't know her. I'm forgetting. Although,
unless it comes on at the bar. It comes
on at the bar. Next thing you know, I am there. I honestly
Instagram Live.
I cannot wait. I know that there's going to be songs on this album that are going to be like very sad and like blah, blah, but I'm also really excited for the bangers. Give me the tunes.
And I know there are.
Oh, I know there
are bangers.
Give it to
Who's
me.
Afraid of Little Old Me?
Give it to me now.
My Boy Only Breaks His Favorite Toys. I want that.
Fresh Out the Slammer. Heard of it? Florida. Been there. You don't go to Florida to cry. You go to Florida, you throw your passport into the ocean like Caroline Calloway.
Mouse ears on.
There it goes. And you fucking
mouse
get
ears
up.
on. Drunk at Epcot.
Exactly.
Well,
I'm ready.
I mean, we're ready. We're super ready. And the next time you'll be hearing from us that is not behind the paywall will be with our tortured poetology, which is sure to be interesting.
I'm excited.
And don't forget to get tickets to Evolution of Snake Live because we need to be seeing you there. We need to be seeing you there. Goodbye, divas.